Mr. Chair, since the new commission member is not here, we can, if you would like, we can skip that since the ex officio is out along with the chair.
We can skip. What is that? What are we skipping?
Welcome new commission member.
Oh, I didn't even, okay. I was still fiddling with my computer because okay. I'm not sure why it says. Okay, now I think I got it. All right. Okay, well, we will skip that part and we'll go to approval of the minutes from the May 13th meeting. Any questions, comments, changes from anyone?
No.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for May 13th, 2021.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, minutes are approved. Item A is the adjustment of eight lots at Stone, yeah, what was it? Stonegate, correct. Mr. Gray, you want to lead us in there?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just real quickly to go over this item, Martin Hackett, president of Carroll Land Services, has requested an upwards adjustment to the 40 building permit per calendar year requirement by 20%, which would be 8 additional permits. And after review, staff believes that there is a sufficient basis for granting such a request of the 8 additional building permits for Stonegate in this calendar year of 2021. And our request would be, staff recommends that the commission increase the number of allowable building permits for the Stonegate development upwards by 20%, which would be 8 single-family detached dwelling units for calendar year 2021, pursuant to zoning ordinance section 164-199F. Mr. Chair, I believe Mr. Wagner is on the call to answer any questions you may have. And if you have any questions for me, I'm also here as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Does anyone have any questions regarding this, or does Mr. Wagner have anything to add?
No, I don't have anything to add. I mean, this is
Okay.
a request based on what was in the letter.
All right. We've done this before, as I recall, so it's not a big deal. If anyone have any other questions they'd like to ask? Okay, well, could we entertain a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
All right, it's been moved to approve the change, the adjustment. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. And item B is the Carroll Liaison report.
Good evening, everybody. Just one quick update. The Carroll County Planning Department is still working with our Planning Commission on pushing through the residential text amendments. We are in the last stages of processing it with the commission. We have a public outreach meeting on June 30th, where we are strictly taking public comment on the text amendment. So if you would like to sign up and talk about the amendments, it is on our website. And that's about it for me tonight.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
I was looking over it. It didn't seem like there were a lot of drastic changes, just as far as the residential, other is mostly cleaning it up, it seemed like.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of cleaning up, striking out.
Okay, next after the residential, what are the, there's only a couple zoning classifications left, is that right?
Next, we are tackling the agriculture and conservation zones. It's going to be quite a big task considering Carroll County and our agriculture and conservation zoning districts are our largest. So that'll be quite the process.
They're the last two, right?
Yes, sir.
You say the best for last.
Exactly. One way to put it.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Andrew, I see no other official items on the agenda. Is that correct, or do I have an old copy?
You are correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Well, no informational items, any, no public comment out there, I take it? Andrew?
Mr. Chair, I have public comment. This is
Okay.
Kelly Schaefer.
All right.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. I'm here tonight and during the public comment period, reluctantly so because I hate to do this during public comment, but I represent Royal Farms and the owners of the Commerce Center, and we have a somewhat time-sensitive request to make of you. So I'm going to be as concise as possible in kind of explaining what's going on. This is somewhat unusual, and I'm not going to say complicated, but not something that you often see. So to the extent you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. I have Emily Dean, who is with the engineering firm on here, and Mark Banta, who's a representative of the Commerce Center, so that if, in case you do have any technical questions, that they're probably going to be better suited to answer those than I am. But I'll explain the gist and then you can jump in with any questions. So as you will recall, this commission approved the Royal Farms site plan. It's been several months ago now. After that site plan was fully approved, Royal Farms applied for and received a grading permit. Construction has begun on the site. Crews have been mobilized. Not sure if any of you drive out that way, but this is at the corner of Route 97 and Corporate Center Court at the Carroll County Commerce Center. Royal Farms, I believe it was towards the end of April, submitted a grading red line to the county. The county is who runs the grading permit process. So that's how ordinarily it would have occurred. That's not, I'm not pointing that out to say it's unusual.
By red line, you mean things that have changed?
Yes, exactly, Mr. Beaver. So the grading area shown on the red line is greater than what was shown on the site plan. Okay, and that is the result of a retaining wall that was shown on the site plan and the need and desire to grade out more of that area to better accommodate what ultimately, hopefully, will develop south of the site, which has not been before you. We're not asking for any approvals there tonight. It's also to allow any of the equipment to go on to that area to grade that area. So the grading itself is it's an area that's grass and it will return to grass. This is not impacting any stormwater management. There is no change to drainage. There's no additional impervious surface being added. There's no development being added. It's not changing any of the characteristics of the Royal Farms. It's not generating additional runoff. There's no connection here with public health, safety, or welfare. It just came up during construction. They need to grade this extra area, and so they've submitted a red line. So the county has signed off on everything, and the only thing we need is city signature. I say only, but not to diminish it. The portion of the property that is subject to the grading red line is owned and controlled by the owner of the Commerce Center, not by Royal Farms. So it's not changing, like Royal Farms has not changed their leased area. Nothing about that has changed.
And the owner has no problem with what's going on. He's aware of it.
Exactly. The owner is completely on board, and the owner will, Royal Farms will operate under a temporary grading easement to be in that area during the time that they need to grade it. And then, like I said, it will just return to grass.
Right.
So as some of you are aware, that type of occurrence is something that commonly occurs during development between adjoining property owners. The reason that we're appearing here before you tonight during public comment is because this commission is tasked with the approval of site plans. And Mr. Depo has essentially said that he does not believe that this request complies with the site plan. And so that is why the city is withholding its signature on the grading permit. So I believe the option that we've been given, if I understand correctly, is to submit an amended site plan. We do not think that that's appropriate in this instance, and I can go through the various reasons why, and not appropriate nor required by the code. There's also a note on the site plan that talks about disturbance or development outside of the area that's shown on the site plan. And if you read the full note, and I can, again, go into more detail if you're interested, but if you read the full note, the intent of that note and the reason that note was put on the plan was because when Royal Farms applied for their site plan, they were leasing a portion of what is a condo unit, okay? And so the site plan shows a portion of Unit 7, and the city wanted to be very sure that, and very clear on paper, that the owner of the rest of Unit 7 was not going to try to use that as a reason for variances on the remainder of the portion, or to be misconstrued in such a way that somebody down the line could argue that the remainder of portion 7 had been approved for development. So to alleviate those concerns, a few of us got together and drafted a note. And if you read the full note on the plan, it explains that if and when that ever develops, it's to be adjoined with another condo unit. And so it kind of lays forward the requirements that the remainder of Unit 7 will be subject to. So tonight we are asking this commission to find the grading plan in compliance with the site plan, because it's the purview of this commission to look at site plans and to finally approve site plans. And with that, request to sign off on the grading permit. We're lacking other options here, and we're just trying to keep this development moving in a reasonable way that allows for Royal Farms to do what they need to do, and in a way that doesn't cause any harm or any negative impact on anybody else, the city included.
All right. Does the city have Mr. Gray?
Mr. Chair.
Representing the city here tonight on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to mention to the commission, this item is not on the Planning Commission agenda. And if the commission were to approve an item that is not on the Planning Commission agenda, it would be in violation of the Open Meetings Act. And also Mr. Depot is on this call as well.
I don't know that we're asking for an approval as much as a finding of conformance with the site plan. So that would be one of my responses to that. And, Mr. Beaver and other members of the commission, if you're inclined to believe that this does need to be publicly advertised, we would respectfully request that you schedule this for a special meeting so that hopefully we can just keep the timeline moving here. Royal Farms, as you will recall, having gone through the site plan and the amended development plan process for Royal Farms, they've been through quite a lengthy review process here and are very anxious to open and are spending money every day on the improvements of the site. So we'd appreciate if that's the finding, we'd appreciate that.
I think, we'll have to get into the technical here as far as the any legal issues, but I mean, basically they just went when they were grading behind the retaining wall, they went outside of the limits of disturbance that was on the site plan with the sediment control. I assume, right? They went outside the limits and then they have to repair it back, reseed it back to the way it was. But they also did some grading that may or may not have, I guess, improve what they think would be the future of the remainder of lot 7, right?
That's exactly correct, except
Time
for the
they
fact that
put
they
the
haven't
wall.
done anything yet. They're holding off
Okay.
on
Plan
doing
is
the
to do.
retaining wall portion of this, and trying to get this approval.
Okay, well, is there a lot of, I guess normally you go outside the limits of disturbance, you don't do a whole lot of grading. It's mostly just, for access of the equipment and this and that. Is there going to be a lot of grading done outside this retaining wall, or is it just a minor disturbances more or less to access for building the retaining wall?
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna ask Mark Banta or Emily Dean to jump in on that one because they speak the plan better than I do, if you will.
Okay.
This is Mark Banta. I'm representing the Carroll County Commerce Center as the owner's representative.
Yeah.
I'm an architect and have my own practice in Columbia, Maryland, Banta Campbell Architects. We worked on the site with Royal Farms on behalf of the owner for the last year and a half. The grading shown on the plan is correct in terms of the bottom of the base of the wall elevation points. To achieve that, they will require to get access to that south side of the retaining wall. They at first showed a fairly large limit disturbance increase that's been reduced back. They also got Soil Conservation District to approve that plan as well from the county. So it's really just for the ease of construction. It's going to be repaired back to its condition with grass and everything else, and the trees being planted at the base of the wall as shown on the landscape plan. So
You're not really regrading in the other lot. You're not really grading the other lot. You're just disturbing it and then reseeding it and putting it back the way it was.
well, when we achieved the bottom of the wall elevations that's been agreed to by the owner and by Royal Farms, that's going to create some areas of ponding. So we want to grade that to get the water to flow back towards the south as it always has been.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. You're kind of fixing a grade that you can't fix unless you add a little dirt on the other side or dig a little bit out to make the water flow away.
Correct.
From the wall. Okay. All right. Okay, I understand that. Well, Andrew, as far as what they're doing, it's pretty minor, and we could
Well,
we could approve things tentatively, or whether it's just to say that it's somewhat incidental to building the site, and in the end, it's going to be pretty close to what the drawings show. There'll just be that drainage area that will puddle water. But I don't know if we're allowed legally, what the ramifications are to doing anything tonight, or whether there are certain things we can do that'll make the thing move through.
and Mr.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, I'm sorry. This is Mark Depot. This isn't minor. We're talking about 60,000 additional square feet of grading. The issue would be that had they initially demonstrated this area for grading, staff's comments, staff report to the Planning Commission, staff report to the Boards of Zoning Appeals would have been significantly different.
How would it have been different?
Because we would have said, if you're going to extend 60,000 more square feet, then this whole area could be graded out. The retaining wall might not even be necessary. We would have argued that stormwater management should have been placed in this location, this 60,000 square foot area, where the applicant said, no, we can't do that because we're not touching that. Throughout the entire process, it was stated by the applicant, we will not be going onto that portion of the property. that led to how staff reviewed and how staff commented on the site plan.
Okay, well,
This,
I do
I-
have to say that 60,000 square feet is not, it seems to me to be a little more than just an extra 10 feet to get a piece of equipment in there to build the wall and that type of thing. That, how long is this wall?
Mr. Beaver, it's actually been, we took a look at that because I think what
I mean,
had
that's an
happened
acre
is
and a
that
half.
the engineers were being overly cautious in the 60,000. And the last conversation we had with Mr. Depot, we indicated that we could get it down to 47,000 square feet, which is about,
That's still an acre.
a third of what the full site is.
But that's an acre.
Yes.
I mean, how long is this retaining wall?
Mark or Emily, can one of you jump in?
I believe it's about 300 feet.
well, I believe this goes beyond the retaining
300
wall.
feet by 10 feet, you know, if you needed 10 feet for access, that's only 3,000 square feet. It just seemed, that does, I have to say, that doesn't seem a little more than a minor going over the limits of, you know, the limits of disturbance to get access behind the wall, because you know, normally this is almost like you're going 100 feet behind the wall to do this times 300 feet to get, that only gets you 30,000. It's almost like you're going 200 feet. So that does seem to be a little more than just going outside the limits of disturbance on the site drawing. Don't
And
you
again,
agree?
this goes beyond what was presented to the planning commission.
Yeah,
and
well,
staff,
I'm
again-
talking to Mr. Banta, you know, I mean, really, that's pretty significant. I thought we were talking about a very small area behind the, you know, outside the limits of disturbance. And you're going out there an acre or an acre and a half. I'm not sure, not sure you shouldn't have foreseen that.
And my understanding is also they want to use some of this area as fill for the Royal Farm site. So again, it's just not grading, minor grading for the retaining wall. This involves the actual site area too. So that's where staff said this increased the site area as reviewed by the planning commission and approved, that
Yeah.
a revision to the site plan is needed per the ordinance.
Yeah, I get, yeah, if you're gonna, well, I mean, you could bring bar in from anywhere you're permitted to bring it from, but that might require a second permit. You know, if you're gonna, this or any other person's property, if you're gonna do grading on an acre, then that's gonna require some, yeah.
Excuse me, as it turned out, the Royal Farms found their own dirt off-site to bring into it. The whole site is up to grade except for the retaining wall at this point.
So
Mark Banta, can you speak to Kevin Beaver's question about the size of the limits of disturbance? Like why?
I'm a
that
little
was
confused
needed?
about that because the grading plan that I looked at this morning showed an area at the east side for about 150 feet to be in the 20-foot range from the wall south. So 20 times 150. And then the area where that existing tree seems to be more like the 60-foot by maybe 100-foot. So I've seen 6,000 square feet there and 3,000 square feet at the other place. I really don't know where the 47,000 is. I guess that's the limit of where they put the silt fence, but it's not where they're actually grading.
Emily, can you speak to that? Because now I'm confused.
Yeah, the limits of disturbance follow the furthest edge of grading along it. I mean, I guess realistically it could be tightened up, as you say, but yeah, originally we were revising the contours to work better with the future development, which was some additional cut along the bottom of the wall.
Well, see, yeah, I mean, that's where you're getting a little, when you start doing that, you're kind of, you really should have had that grading in with the whole thing, the whole site plan you submitted. If you were going to borrow from there, or if you were going to modify that grading on that lot, then it should have just been included. You know, you could have done it all when you were putting it together. If it's just getting behind the wall, for access, and you're not gonna do really grading and then seed it when you're done. I don't know if that's as big a deal, but here it seems like, it almost seems like you were going to borrow the dirt. That's probably what you were gonna do with it, was borrow the dirt from it, but then you found the dirt, so now maybe you don't have to go as far out, so the silt fence could have been moved back in or something. I'm not just surmising here. But
Yeah, I understand your concerns, Mr. Beaver, and I think that that's an important notation, and perhaps, the way I'm now understanding it too, with what Mr. Banta just explained, because I am not an expert at reading plans, especially grading plans. Perhaps we could bring that area in and address your concern of, still accomplish the goals, but address your concern of having such a large area there. Now, I understand that Mr. Depot still probably will disagree with this. So, that's why we're asking this commission, and maybe we need to come back next, maybe, we need to come
yeah,
back.
I think it may be smarter to come back, to be honest, because now I have, because of the square footage changing, now I'm kind of, don't really know what the grading is going to be, and maybe you ought to come back with how you'd like to grade it for the future next lot, if you work that out with the owner, and then you can kill two birds with one stone.
Well, we'd love to do that, but I think that it's Mr. Depot's interpretation that would require an amended site plan, and because of the timing of that and the review process for that, if possible, I'd like to accomplish this just for the benefit of the wall and what Royal Farms needs to do, through a faster process. And I think part of the problem that everybody's struggling with here is that the code doesn't really give guidance one way or the other. In my opinion, this clearly is not a site plan, an amended site plan situation, because there's no new development, no characteristics of Royal Farms itself are changing. It's grass going back to grass. There's no stormwater impact, which in ordinary circumstances may be the only agency that's impacted as a result of some kind of grading request.
Well,
So,
I think really it's kind of the size of what you were doing makes it almost seem like it has to be something major going on there because of taking up an acre to do it. There had to be some grading changes. So I think there's just a little concern now is to see what are you going to do there to make the water flow the way you want it to flow. And hopefully that's all we would need to see, but you probably ought to come back and show us that, because it sounds like you've gotten the county to sign off on the design, and the water is going to flow where they're not going to be unhappy about it, I guess. I assume.
Yeah, we're not changing the flow of
Trying
water
to-
as a result of this grading.
But you're changing something on the other side.
And on the Royal Farms side.
To not have a puddle, you're changing something on the owner of the other property. You're changing something on his side to not create a puddle of some
Well,
sort.
we're
And
trying to create a flat
we haven't
area.
really seen, yeah, we haven't really seen what that entails, and probably would be better to see that, and then we can. I don't know how quick, Mark. I don't know how quickly, they can do something. They can get it back, and we can meet. I mean, we could possibly have a special meeting, whatever.
There is nothing. We have a approved site plan by the planning commission, signed site plan by the planning commission and staff. That one has a note saying that no grading would occur in this portion. One showing limits of disturbance. There is no process in the ordinance that allows the planning commission to modify or allow a revision to a site plan. And the ordinance is quite clear. Revisions to a site plan require amendment to the site plan. I'm not sure what section Ms. Schaefer is referring to where this is an allowed process by the ordinance. I'm not aware of it. I'm aware of the fact if you're asking for a revision, the ordinance again is quite clear that requires amendment to the site plan.
Mr. Chair, I'm not saying that in fact, I said the opposite. I said the ordinance does not provide for clear guidance here on how to do this. But what I did say is that the amended site plan, if you look at the site plan sections of the code, site plan the purpose of the site plan section itself says something about to approve development as it relates to the issuance of building permits. And here, there's no development being proposed. This is just grading. And there is no note on the site plan that says that no grading on this area can occur, at least not that I'm aware of. What the note does say is it talks about disturbance and development proposed beyond the lease line and the need to consolidate the existing condo lot, the remainder of that condo lot with the condo lot south of that. So what I'm saying is, I think that this commission has the authority because they are the approvers of site plans to find that something like this, and perhaps Mr. Beaver, as you pointed out, we could have a special meeting and lower the limits of disturbance and come back to you and explain that. But what I'm saying is, I think you have the authority as the planning commission to find that something is in conformance with an approved site plan. And I think what I'm hearing from Mr. Beaver, and I don't disagree with, is that perhaps finding that conformance will depend on what's shown on the grading red line.
Yeah, and maybe it need the county attorney or the city attorney to tell us if we're allowed to rule on the thing or not. We might have to get him in for the next special meeting.
Yeah,
Or we can get that ahead of time. But Mark, to that,
I think we need that ahead of time.
yeah. To the
Again,
one,
she's
to the one
stating the
thing
process.
that
It
was
doesn't
mentioned,
exist.
Mark.
Yes.
The one thing that was mentioned, the detail between just grading or development or this and that would be the type thing that the city attorney could look at too. If it's just grading, does that mean it's anything less than if it's something more significant? You know what I mean? That has to be
Again,
looked at. So
and I'll be happy to, but I'll be happy to reach out to her. But again, they're increasing the area that was reviewed. And I agree with Ms. Schaefer that the purpose of the site plan, and you followed that purpose and you followed that intent when you approved the plan that was approved and signed. That shows the limit of disturbance. The applicant was quite clear in all my discussions. If we want to talk intent, with that note, the intent was, they said over and over, they will not be going onto that piece of property. Therefore, staff did not comment on it. Had we known this was what was to be proposed, our comments and staff report and what was before the planning commission would have been significantly different.
Well, I guess we'll see once if they show us something that shows
I
what
just
they're
don't know what the
doing. We'll
process-
see if the staff comments are different or not, I guess.
And that's, Mr. Beaver, we
I just
are certainly
don't know-
open to staff's comments on whether they think this complies or does not comply. Obviously,
Yeah.
we do believe that the red line plan does and will allow for a proper review without an amended site plan. Mark and I were both there during the whole drafting of that note, and perhaps it was poorly worded, but it was very clear and, between emails back and forth, that the intent there was to really confirm that there was no future development that the planning commission or city was approving beyond that of a royal farm. So I don't think we're in that territory here, because we truly are just trying to utilize a portion of the property owner's property to grade for the developer site of the royal farms.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I disagree with that. That is disingenuous. When we talked about that property, we wanted to include this section of land in our review. We were asking for landscaping over there. We were asking stormwater management to be moved over there. And the applicant made it clear that they don't control that. They're not touching it. They have a leased line area, and we cannot ask for these things. That led to the note. We were informed that they would not be working on that piece of land.
And I'm not trying to get into a battle about this, but I am offended by the disingenuous statement, given the fact that as I stated at the beginning, nothing about the ownership here has changed. Royal Farms lease line has not changed. Royal Farms still does not have control over this portion of the property. Anybody at the city, anybody at the county, anybody could not require Royal Farms to place their stormwater in this area because they still don't control it. In order to grade it, they would just operate under a temporary grading easement, as is often the case in these sorts of developments. So
Well,
that has not changed, and
to-
please do
to-
not think that we misconstrued or misrepresented that nothing about that has changed.
Well, the only thing that Mr. Depot said, if the city was encouraging you to grade that, but then we're going to require some landscaping or something, there may have been a reason to say, no, we're not going to do that because we don't want to have to put any landscape. We don't want to spend the money on landscaping over there. We think we can stay off the property. And if that, and that may be what changes if you come back with an amended plan and it grades this much, there may still be something they want like that. So you just have to be prepared to, that may be, I'm thinking of what would really change, but that may be something that would change if it was brought up before and it went away because of decisions that were made regarding that. So you guys will just have to weigh that when you come back, and hopefully you'll minimize the disturbed area. And but I think you're going to have to we're going to have to come back, and I don't think we can really make an opinion of any sort unless we have the city council discuss what we can do. But the safest thing would be to try to get something that we can look at, because right now and then the city can prepare to say, well, this is what we would have, if had they graded that site, this is probably what we would have done. I mean, I don't really know. It sounds like we're getting into a mess. It sounds like it'd be a lot better if you just left it alone, as I'm getting into the weeds of it now, because
That was unfortunately not such an easy option, but I wish it were.
Yeah, I don't know. You could put a little under drain in there and drain that puddle out. I'm not straight along the wall where you're still inside your limits of disturbance. I'm not really sure here what's what's going on, or what the owner could do with his property to, either after the fact or not, to change things. I'm not really sure, because I'm not, till we see a drawing. It's just, it's not just going behind the wall for access by running your equipment back there. That would be kind of easy, pretty simple. It's really more than that. So I think we're going to have to see what that entails. And it's certainly, if it takes an acre and a half to do it, it's pretty significant grading. So it'll be interesting to see what you all, bring back.
Well, Mr. Chair, I appreciate your feedback and I appreciate the suggestion. And if you are willing, we would respectfully request a special meeting to be able to present this to you. And I don't want to speak for Emily, but I do believe we can prepare something that reduces that area to what is 100% necessary, I guess, and not overly cautious. And I guess submit that in some way that gets to you.
Well, it has to, the city's gonna have to look at it. The city has
Right.
to look at it, and we have to have the city council decide how, if there's anything that would facilitate doing it a little quicker for you, or whether we just have to go through the normal process. And then we'll go from there. That's my thinking anyway, because but maybe it'll change when we see what the grading actually is, but we probably ought to get that we should really get that information from from the city and the council, at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And
once you get the drawing. Yep.
And we are happy to submit that. That is the red line that we're talking about now, in theory, that you have not seen, or at least have not seen before tonight. I'm not sure if you even have it tonight.
No.
It was submitted through the county and then to the city, but obviously never crossed your desks. So we can certainly do that, and would appreciate the opportunity to get that before you as soon as possible, so that hopefully we can just minimize any delay here to the existing work that's happening on the site.
Okay. All right, very good. Any other commission members have any comments? Not any other, but you want to say anything? Are they there?
I am. I have nothing additional to say except for,
Okay.
I guess, if she's requesting a special meeting, I guess, Andrew, we can talk about this offline, what that looks like.
Well, we would have to review the document and with special meetings, I mean, as you know, we have four, there's 3 planners in the planning department and we are staffed to 4 boards. So a special meeting would take, there's notice, we have to conduct the meeting and minutes. So I would have to speak to Mr. Deep or to Mark about that, Tiambe.
Okay.
It may be with the holiday coming up and all that and the time it takes, it may be that it can't happen before the next meeting. Maybe that's optimistic. I'm not really sure how long it takes, to get all the lines adjusted and reviewed and, discussed with everybody.
We
Okay.
appreciate staff working with us to the extent that they're able and are happy to do anything we can to assist in that as well.
Okay. All right. Is that it for that item then?
That is it for
Everybody-
me.
All right, okay. Well, moving on, are there any other public comments out there that you know about, Andrew?
No, sir.
No one on, okay, all right. Then let me get back to my agenda. Any commission, any staff discussions, reports?
None from me, sir.
Mr. Depot? I guess none for him. Any commission members, any item for you, for any of you that you want to discuss?
None from me.
All right. Well, I see nothing else on the,
Oh,
was that someone?
I think it was.
Yeah, I had nothing. I'm sorry. I lost you on my phone. It took me a while to find it again. So I apologize for that. But no, I have nothing else.
Hey, I lost my picture between logging on and then accidentally logging back off and coming back on again. I lost my picture, but I think it's better. I think it's better it worked that way. All right. Well, good luck with this, and it should be an interesting next meeting. I guess we're ready to adjourn if we can have a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
I'll second.
it's done. See you all in